Do you know of any good transient designers for Mac?
Good question. I don't. I've heard that the SPL is okay. I think um, I think maybe T-Rex has one, but I'm not 100% sure.
T-Rex has one, and there's a Flux makes one too that I've heard okay things about.
Yeah. I would say just, especially with transient designers, there should be enough info out there to figure out if you want to buy it or if you, maybe a demo that you can try.
Okay.
I think there is a way to maybe use Dominion on Mac, but you would have to do some kind of weird like patchwork type stuff, like some kind of like VST converter or whatever. But I think it's possible. Yeah.
Awesome.
Do we have any questions from anybody right now? So I'm moving through a lot of stuff.
Can you go over what compression sidechaining is and how to use it?
All right, so I can, but I don't think. I mean, I can show you quickly what it does.
Yeah, and then let's move on to guitars.
Because it really isn't that important.
Okay.
But if you did have a compressor, let's say on your, well, okay, let me tell you what sidechaining does. Sidechaining is feeding a compressor a different signal than the one that it's affecting. So if I put a compressor on my guitar track, and then I feed my kick into the sidechain of the compressor, every time the kick hits, it's going to compress the guitar. That's what sidechain compression does. It's not that cool. I know people talk about it on the internet like it's the coolest thing ever. But here's what it would do. So every time the kick hits, it turns the guitar down. Now, one thing you can do with that is you can actually take your vocal track. If you get all of your music tracks bussed into a group, you can put a compressor on the music and then send the sidechain of your vocal into that compressor, and it'll turn down the music every time the vocals come in. And you can adjust it so that, you know, however much you want it to turn down, you can change those settings, of course. And so it's nice because when you have a situation where the guitars are just like a wall of sound and the vocals are having trouble cutting through, you use a sidechain, and every time the vocalist sings a part, the guitars get turned down a little bit. It's just like an automatic way of automating stuff. So there's that.
A question about the snare.
Yeah.
Right now, how you're processing it, are you just processing the direct mic, or are you processing the overhead as well?
So this is just the direct mic that came off of the SSD that I printed. And I just did EQ, compression, transient designer, and clipper.
And do you use the snare room from SSD at all, or is that part
You
of?
could, yeah, and I think it's in here somewhere. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, I think it was in one of these tracks. Let's see. I'll show you what I like to do with drum rooms, because drum rooms are cool. They give you a lot of help on your drum sound. I would say 50% of a drum sound is drum room, honestly. I like to go in and do like a 76, pretty crunchy. Whoops, sorry. Yeah, I like to compress it really hard. I mean, just go nuts with it. And then when you combine that back in with your mix, so yeah. And like, if you look at the, let me pull up the actual drum mix from this song. You'll see that I have quite a bit of room in there. So yeah, pretty roomy. Turning guitars down a little bit. Let's turn this down. And one thing I wanted to do, I wanted to talk about drum mixing before I wrap this up, is finalizing. The way that I like to do my drum stuff is I like to get it to what I call a 0 point. And what I mean by that is I want to get my drums so that they're basically an audio stem that I can haul around in different sessions. So like, this is the drum stem from the original song that we played from my original mix. So I actually have a clipper on here. I've got my drums finalized. They're basically hitting 0. So all the drums are mixed volume-wise and EQ-wise. They're all relative to each other. So the snare and the kick are pretty much equal in volume. They have like the same amount of punch. Same with the toms. Where's the toms? And then I've got my cymbals at a nice comfortable level. And then that all of the drums, the stuff that make up the drum sound, are going to go to a single group track. So let's actually do that right now. Let me see. So I'm going to take all those, go to the group, and I'm going to check out my group. Okay, so I see the snare now is poking through on the overheads, and I don't like what it's doing to my snare sound. So I'm going to actually put a limiter on there and cut that snare hit off. Show you how to do that. So this is the overhead track that we're looking at. And you can see how the snare is just way louder than the other cymbal hits. So if I just actually lower this down, I'm starting to cut that snare hit off. And there's also some frequencies in the low end area that I'm taking care of. Cool. So anyway, as you get all your drums into your group, you're going to want to calibrate it so that you're not going over 0 again. Okay, and then sometimes I like to do a compressor for all the drums, like all the drums together going through a compressor. For that, I'm going to use like a 76. That just kind of helps iron it out a little bit. And then from there, we'll probably clip. And this is what I'm talking about, getting the drums to 0. By clipping it, you're going to get some loudness out of it, but you're also going to get it kind of equalized out so that it's not, it's something that you can bounce into a WAV file and without having to worry about losing your sound. So now I feel like the kick is a little hot. I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. Okay, so now that I have it set up like this, I can literally just bounce that as a stem because it's not going over 0, and so I can always mix off of that. Like I'll be able to mix in relation to the loudness of my drums. So let me just bounce that out. And we're going to call it drum mix. And a lot of times you can get the reverb from your drums just by the rooms. Now there are cases where you want to add reverb, like especially on snare hits. Like on slower parts, I like to have a lot more reverb on my snare than I do on faster parts. And I'll go in and actually automate those in. So this is the part where I'm talking about finalizing and printing the stereo mix. Once you've done that, you can do a lot more with the drums. So like now, here's my audio stem of my drum mix. I can actually take this track and duplicate it and then add like distortion to the duplicated track. Probably not the right distortion. Let me try a different one. Okay, so what you can do with this now is I can actually use that track to bring more energy to certain parts. So like for the chorus, I can go in and raise the volume of that distortion track. See how that adds a little bit of, I don't know, excitement and energy to the part? So I would just literally just fly that in like this. Oh, I got it going twice. Whoops. The other great thing about this is you can do a lot of really cool like effects and stuff. So if you wanted to make like a drum fill have like a flanger, I mean, now that it's an audio stem, you can like do anything with it. So I can just add a flanger like this and go to, where is it? This one. So it just makes it really easy to do kind of cool stuff like that, which you know, if you just leave all of your drum tracks separate in your mix, you can't really do stuff like that. It's not as easy. It also would take more processing power, so I think it's important to actually just commit to your drum sound and just literally bounce it out to an audio file and just go from there. Because if you leave everything open, you end up with analysis paralysis and you'll sit there and tweak stuff basically forever. So it's nice to just kind of put your foot down and make a decision.